Chapter 7. The day before Christmas, the little Calsays could talk about nothing but the house on wheels, which they expected Father Christmas to bring them. Even the gypsy children were excited about it. "Oh, and then you'll surely come to Provence with us in the spring," tempted Tinka. "Petro's car can pull your house. We'll all make the pilgrimage to the shrine of Saint Sarah." "Who is Saint Sarah?" asked Susie. "I never heard of her." Tinka was amazed. "If you went to school," she said, "I should think you would have learned more. Don't you know that after the crucifixion, St. Mary Jacob and St. Mary Salome were seized by the enemies of Christ and set adrift in a boat without any rudder or sails? And of course St. Sarah was with them because she was their handmaiden. The wind blew their boat to the shores of Provence. So now there's a church there, and St. Sarah's statue is in the crypt. The gypsies made a pilgrimage there in May because St. Sarah was a gypsy." "I want to see St. Sarah," said Evelyn. "I want to see the Mediterranean Sea," said Paul. "I would like to see all those things too," said Susie wistfully. "But we will have to finish our school first." "We can't go to school until we have a home," Paul reminded her. "Remember what Mama said?" "Oh, but we'll have a home when school starts," said Susie. "Father Christmas is going to bring our house tonight." Armand groaned. If only he could get them off the house. 64, Audrey. "How would you like to go to Christmas Eve party tonight?" he asked. A big party with food and singing and hundreds of people. As he had expected, the Calsays immediately forgot their house on wheels. "Where?" asked Paul. "In a big palace?" "No, not exactly. It's to be held under the Tournelle Bridge." Paul's face fell. "But it will be a grand party, I can promise you," went on Armand. "The Notre Dame Church people give it every Christmas Eve for the hobos of Paris and their ladies. They'll sing carols and eat sauerkraut and wieners." Paul was happy again. "Oh, I like to eat," he said, "and I like to eat sauerkraut and wieners best of all." "Maybe Mama won't let us go," said Susie. "She can go too," said Armand. "After all, it's for the homeless people, so that makes her a distinguished guest." "Can the gypsies go too?" asked Susie. "I'd like to take Tinka." But the gypsies said they had their own plans for Christmas Eve. Tinka only grinned and acted secretive when she was questioned about them. Strangely enough, Madame Calsay agreed to go to the holiday party under the bridge. "I can do so little for the children this year," she said, "and they have some crazy idea that Father Christmas is going to bring them a gypsy van. Perhaps the party will make them forget." But even though the gypsies refused to go to the party, Nicky offered to drive them in their rattle-trap car. "I've got some business in the Jardin des Plantes park and have to take the car out anyway," he explained. The Calsays were thrilled. They had never ridden in an automobile. They clung tightly to the seats. Jojo sat erect as if he were quite used to it. Nicky raced down the narrow streets and shouted insults at pedestrians and cars that got in his way. His own car sputtered, rattled, and clanked as if it would fall apart at any moment. But it didn't. It was cold, clear night when the monuments were floodlighted. The streetlights threw golden ribbons across the Seine. The old car rattled across the Tournelle Bridge and stopped at the curb. The Calsays jumped out quickly. Armand stiffly backed out, and Jojo made it in one leap. From the head of the steps, they could look down on the party. As Armand had predicted, it was crowded. A large tent had been raised on the quay, a tent that would have delighted the gypsies. Young boys and girls of the parish were carrying out pans of steaming food from the tent. The warm smell of sauerkraut was overpowering. It delighted Paul most of all. "Let's hurry down before they eat it all up," he urged. But Susie's eyes were looking across the river to the little Isle of the Cité, where Notre Dame was illuminated like a saint's dream. Its flying buttresses and tall, fragile arrow were frosted with light. "Oh, isn't it beautiful?" sighed Susie. "It looks like it was made in a bakery shop, doesn't it?" But Madame Calsay had turned back to look at the fashionable restaurant rising over the bridge, a man-made cliff honeycombed with lights. "There are rich people in beautiful clothes sitting at white tables up there," she said enviously. "And paying a lot of money for rich food that's going to give them indigestion," said Armand. "Come on, that sauerkraut smells like a feast to me." When they reached the bottom of the steps, they could see that the tunnel was even more crowded than the quay. Canvas had been stretched across the far end to cut off the draft. There were colored ribbons fastened to it. A decorated tree stood on a high stage made of boards. Charcoal heaters had been set around to warm the air, and many of the ragged guests were huddled over them. Others sat on the curb, greedily eating out of tin bowls, and some lady hobos were sitting with their backs against the bridge, talking about politics and trash cans and chillablains. But most of the hobos only stood around waiting for something to happen. Armand cornered a young girl carrying some tin bowls. "Right here," he said. "This is where we said we'd been waiting for you." He made room for the Calsays to sit along the curb, but Madame Calsay remained standing. "I'll help you carry out the food," she offered the girl. "I'm not really a tramp."